When I was a boy, there's nothing I like better than going fishing with my daddy. Well, we'd go down there on the pond where the fishing was the best. And one hot July day, Daddy said, son, today's a day we're going to go fishing. I said, oh, Daddy, I love to go fishing. He said, I know you do. So we got our poles and we went down there where the fishing was the best. We went over the little bridge he built and then over to the other side of the pond. And he would tell stories, just like I'm telling you right now. He would tell jokes, he would tell all kinds of stories, and I just listened. That was kind of the best part, actually. But that day, I had my pole there and the line went right down in the water, and Daddy had already put that squiggly, gooshy, worm on there that was wriggling around to try to catch a fish. Well, all of a sudden, I looked down and there was this big bass fish. I mean, it was huge. And I'll tell you later how big it was. This is the exciting part because that fish just kept swimming around and swimming around. And all of a sudden, it went, oh, right on my hook. I said, oh, Daddy, look, look at that bass fish I caught. He said, whoa. That fish is big. I said, I know, Daddy. And I said, and I caught him. He said, you did. That's right. That's right. So it took both of us to get that bass fish out of the water. Both of us. It was so big. And I was 9 years old at the time. And that fish stood taller than I was. I have a picture of it somewhere. And that picture shows how big that fish was. And I know I was 9 years old because it has that date, whatever that date was when I was 9 years old. And then it has the fish and from our Brownie Kodak camera that we had, a little black box that we had. Oh my gosh, it was just wonderful. He took a picture because he knew I might catch a fish. Now, we had to keep him fresh. Now, you know that when you keep things fresh, you all, nowadays you use ice, but we didn't have no ice. What we had was newspaper. They delivered the newspaper all the time in our, little mailbox there on the road. And we took that newspaper and we wrapped him up real good to keep him fresh and moist. Now, it took both of us to carry him under our arm up across the bridge and back up to the house. And when we got back up to the house, we put him down there on the porch. Mama, 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 come quick. See this bass fish I caught. And she said, whoa. I said, that's what Daddy said. He said, whoa. I said, Mama, I caught that bass fish myself. She said, you did? I said, I did. So we unwrapped him from that wet newspaper. And when we did, there was that bass fish lying there dead, just like this. I said, Mama, Mama, Daddy, that fish is alive. Now, Daddy was real smart, and Mama let him think he was too. And he said there was just enough moisture on that newspaper what kept him alive. I said, whoa, oh, Mama, we can't eat that fish because he's not dead. She said, nope, the fish has to be dead in order for you to eat him. I said, okay. She said, by the looks of that fish, we're going to have him for supper and breakfast and lunch. I said, what do I do to get him to die? She said, just put him out there on the lawn. That's all you have to do. Put him on the lawn and he'll die overnight. So we carried him down there and put him on the lawn. Now, I want to tell you something. I was so excited that by the next morning, he was going to be dead and we was going to eat him. And so I just couldn't stand it. You know how it is when it's Christmas the next day, or it's your birthday, or it's the first day of school. Well, some people aren't excited, others are. Teachers ain't too excited, but kids sometimes are. Well, I was so excited, I couldn't go to sleep. But you know what? I did. You know how I know? I woke up. That's how if you're asleep, you wake up. And so I jumped off that bed, off the porch, and there was that bass fish lying there, just like this. I said, Mom and Daddy, come quick, that fish is alive again. She said, how could that be? Daddy said, son, there was enough dew on the grass. What kept him alive? I said, oh boy. I said, you know what? He's kind of breathing like us and things. I said, what I'd like to do is right now, I would like to make that fish. Excuse me, Alice, you have the wrong phone. It's this phone, Alice, that's ringing. And so, anyway, things like this happen. It's like that train in Jonesboro going by, and people stop for a while. She was paying attention, however, to my story, which is good. Well, anyway, there we was, and that fish, I said, I think I'd rather keep him for a pet. Now, Daddy said, where are you going to keep a fish that size for a pet? You figured it out, didn't you? The bathtub. We just put that plug in and it filled it up with the water. And I tested it with my little elbow to make sure it was the right temperature down at the pond. So that Mr. Bass, he was swimming around and having a big old time. Sometime he'd slosh that water on the floor, but it was okay. And we were just so excited. And then I had to go in and do my homework. Now, as I was doing my homework, because I wasn't real good in math, I had to go to summer school. So I was going to summer school and learning some more math, my times tables, as I recall. Well, I was learning my times tables and I thought, I better go check on Mr. Bass. He was my friend. And I went in there and it was the saddest thing. Daddy didn't fix everything, and that there was like a chain, that broke, and the chain just pulled that up with this fin, and the plug came out, and oh my, the water was gone, and there was Mr. Bass like this. I said, Mama, he's alive again. Daddy, come quick. You know what it was? I told you Daddy never fixed things. And there was a dripping down on his little nose, what kept him alive. I said, oh my gosh. I said, now I'm going to teach him things, not just keep him for a pet. We put him back on his fins and he would walk all over. All he had to do is give him a little push, and he walked and he walked, and he just had it. I mean, he just loved it. He'd follow me to the grocery store. He followed me to miniature golf. I know we had miniature golf there. He followed me everywhere I went, to the Cat's drugstore. He followed me, and sometimes I would let him in with me, and sometimes I wouldn't. Sometimes they didn't want to let me in, but we had the best time. Now, what do? When you got a fish like that? You also got to get them some work to do. Well, I hated to cut the grass. Oh my gosh, I had allergies, and I thought, well, fish don't have allergies. He could cut the grass. So we taught Mr. Bass how to walk behind the lawnmower. He made the straightest, the absolute perfect lanes in the grass. Even the miniature golf club, they came over to see how we were doing that. And Mr. Bass would go up and down. He cut the Joneses next door, and he made $45.80 that summer cutting grass. And you think, now, what do you do when a fish makes money like that? What do you do with it? I mean, a fish doesn't go to Harvard, so you don't save it for college. But we went to the movies. We went to the Rio Theater, and he loved it. Now, you had to stand him up in the back because people didn't like, the way that he couldn't sit down and bend like us. But you sit him in the back. And his favorite movies was Flipper and Son of Flipper. And I was a teenage flipper in London. He loved them. Oh my gosh, he'd get so excited. Now, fish don't have vocal cords, in case you don't know. They can't talk. They can't say, oh, I love the movie very much, or anything like that. But he would flip his fins, and you knew he loved that movie. And he loved dots. The kind that you look at the screen, you see what color they is, and you eat the red ones yourself and the orange ones, and you give the yellow ones, to somebody else. Oh, give the green ones to your girlfriend. Well, Mr. Bass, he loved the dots. You had to put them in his mouth, but then you had to kind of pick that, rest of the dots out of his little teeth because they get stuck sometimes. Now, I notice that some of you think that this is a comedy. Alice, you've been embarrassing yourself by laughing there. And, and Rick too, and Nancy, and there's another Nancy, I think. People have been embarrassing yourselves, chuckling and laughing, thinking you're so clever. Well, you're not. This is a tragedy. Because one day Daddy said, let's go fishing. I said, Daddy, don't say fishing in front of the FISH. He said, why not? I said, he'd be thinking we're killing his relatives down at the pond. He said, no, we won't. He's breathing like us. He's like a human being. Let's go with Mr. Bass. So he rigged up that fishing pole. Thank you, Alexa. You can stop now. And there he was, rigged up with that fishing pole coming out in that line, and we walked over the bridge. Now, first was Daddy, and then me, followed by Mr. Bass. And I told you Daddy never fixed nothing. And there was a loose board. And Mr. Bass, I looked around just in time to see him fall right down there in the pond, and he drowned. That's a true story. And I'd eat fried chicken before I'd ever tell you a lie. And I'm proud to say now I can talk like this, or I can talk like that, or any way you want. And I am really privileged that you got to hear this from me today. Thank you very much for listening. Please come back. You hear? Bye.